Black Hills Information Security, the leaders in penetration testing and active defense. Email consulting@blackhillsinfosec.com to request a quote today. Threat Connect is the industry's most widely adopted threat intelligence platform, built to unite the people, processes, and technologies across your security team, your organization, and your entire ecosystem of partners. Threat Connect's threat intelligence platform enables your team to collaborate, analyze, and make sense of threat data all in one place. Empower your team towards fast and efficient analysis that leads to decisive action. Transform your entire threat detection and response program today. Claim your free account at threatconnect.com/securityweekly. Faraday is an open source collaborative pen test and vulnerability management platform. With real-time dashboards and more than 50 tools, Faraday allows seamless integration with your security workflow, allowing CISOs and pen testers to see in real time the impact and risks uncovered from assessments. Scan your network every day using different tools and get one-click reports, creating a collaborative experience, sharing knowledge, and making pen testing fun again. This is Faraday. Visit faradaysec.com for more information. Logarithm's NetMon Freemium delivers real-time network visibility to quickly identify emerging threats in your IT environment. NetMon Freemium is a free, commercial-grade network forensics and traffic analytics solution. You can use NetMon Freemium's powerful capabilities to search against all observed network traffic, identify abnormal traffic patterns and application usage, and quickly analyze full packet captures. Take the first step towards real-time network visibility. Visit logarithm.com/freemium to learn more and download it today. Tenable Network Security, creators of Nessus, the world's best vulnerability scanner. Jumpstart your security program today and evaluate Security Center CV, the continuous monitoring solution. For more information, visit them on the web at tenable.com. ProXPN is the leading VPN service offering free accounts, excellent premium features, and an outstanding commitment to privacy and security online. Use the discount code WEEKLY and save 50% off for life. NetSparker, the developers of desktop and cloud-based web application security scanners that enable you to automatically identify vulnerabilities in your web applications and web services. NetSparker scanners employ a unique and dead-accurate vulnerability scanning engine that automatically verifies vulnerabilities with a proof of concept. For more information, visit them on the web at netsparker.com or email them at contact@netsparker.com. Welcome back, everyone, to Security Weekly. This is the security news for this week. I have Mr. Jeff Mann on the lines via Skype, as well as Matt Alderman and Josh Abram in studio to talk about the news, which is going to be, I'm excited about this week because I've been doing this 11 years, right? And we get like such a mixture of news week to week. This week is really interesting. And I'm going to start off with internet-connected vibrators. Now, we've talked about connected devices. We've talked about connected sex toys, but I'm serious. I have an interesting take on this. So there's an internet-connected vibrator that has a privacy lawsuit, and this is WeVibe. And basically, and I quote, the company collects users' data without their consent in violation of Federal Wiretap Act and the Illinois eavesdropping statute, as well as the Illinois Consumer Fraud Act. Now, here's the issue. The app transmit details such as date and time of each use, intensity and mode chosen by the user, and the email address of registered users. The crux of the issue is the data is tied back to your email address. And
which of that data is actually covered under the law?
I think it's
email.
I think it's the email that made the
PHI
issue.
It's the private. It's the PII data.
Yeah, it's the usage
tied to a user.
To an
when
individual.
you tie it back to the user without their consent, you're going to get into trouble, regardless of whatever.
Well,
the
you
device
definitely are in
is,
Germany
right?
and France and
but
other
now
places.
even in the U.S.
I guess so. In Illinois,
get in trouble.
It's PII.
Nobody uses a vibrator in France. Come on now.
But not in Germany either.
But I think it underscores the issue that most people miss when it comes to IoT security, and that's, well, yes, we talk about security concerns, which for your vibrator I think is maybe silly and cute, and we can give funny talks at DEF CON, but the real crux of the issue is the privacy concerns and confidentiality. Collecting anonymous data to make your product better, provided you tell people what you're collecting and who you're sharing it with, is okay. The email address, which could also kind of link to a username, considering there's live video and chat that can connect, so you can connect with your partner and have your cell phone and use these things. Well, like that's a huge privacy and confidentiality violation there, and it just spells disaster for me in this situation. And WeVibe says there's no evidence of any kind of data breach.
Yeah.
That they know of.
Well, there's breach, but that's
this is Ashley Madison all over again, but at a completely different level.
Right? But and Matt, you and I have talked about what you collect from your users, right? And this is kind of admittedly, it's an entertaining example of it, right? But when we talk about any kind of privacy and confidentiality, you have to, one, disclose what you're collecting and who you share it with, and anonymize it in such a way such that the incentive for the consumer is, well, this is going to make my product better, right?
Yeah.
This is going to make me have a better experience with my
Google
product.
this vibrator and then see what ads start popping up.
So it is from WeVibe, which I think there was a DEF CON talk. This is the second time we've covered WeVibe, but the difference this time is there's an actual U.S. lawsuit on the books now for this that legitimately covers like bad things happening.
It's because of the PII aspect. See, if they pulled the telemetry,
told the users, hey, look, maybe it's an opt-in. Hey, if you want to help make our product better, it's kind of like Microsoft saying, hey, if there's an error in application, do you want to send us the results,
diagnostics
so we can make it better? If WeVibe said, hey, when you use our product, like if you click accept here, completely anonymous, we're just going to collect data and we're going to make our product better. Whatever the product is, whether it's a sex toy, a refrigerator, a toaster, whatever it is.
Whatever.
Most people can be like, yeah, you know what? Like that's like I bought the technology. Obviously, I have an investment in this technology. I'm going to want to see it be better.
But it's a difference between making the product better and associating that with an end user.
Once you associate an end user, I think it shows
the game changes.
Intent that there's not so.
It's not intent. It may not be malicious intent. By the way, right?
No.
They're trying.
I have a basic question though. Which end are we using?
Wow.
Continue.
Wow.
Thanks, Jeff.
Way to throw us off the talk track, Jeff. Thank you.
Well, it's not like we're having a serious conversation. Come on.
No, we are.
Well, but there's a serious aspect to this
Internet
when
of
it
things,
comes
but
to
it's just
right.
It's
what it is.
Internet of personal things.
Yeah, devices. And
Anonymized telemetry is good to improve products and get telemetry and understand usage, et cetera, et cetera. As soon as you tie it to a user, you cross the line from anonymized data to help the product to tying it to a person, which can now be exploited and used against a person, right?
Like
that's the line that got crossed.
You get a data
case.
breach, and now they can tie it back to you or anyone in the public spotlight.
Or your potential who you were phoning with.
Right.
This is Anthony
Ashley
Weiner
Madison,
on steroids.
Yes, exactly.
Or an Ashley Madison, right? Because now I can use it for blackmail.
It's Anthony Weiner on Viagra? What?
so the main thing that they didn't do is inform the user of what they actually wanted.
Right.
You know, why do we store this data? What's the value add of them for the user, not for the company?
And getting permission to do it.
Exactly.
Right? It's like whenever you update your Apple phone, it says, do you want to send telemetry? We all have a choice, yes or no. Right. I say no. Why? Because I don't want them to have access to my data, right? And that has to be a conscious choice by the consumer of whether that data is sent or not. Mm-hmm. And if it's anonymized data, I would probably be a little less worried about it. But when you tie it to an email address, which ties you to a user, you cross a privacy boundary that gets a little hairy. And so this will be an interesting lawsuit, but I think they're in a little bit of trouble.
Yeah, I think so too. It could be. Now, tying into the story is, I had another one that tied into IoT. Hold on.
Well, this is IoT.
This is...
It is an Internet of Thing. It happens to be a fun thing, but it's an internet thing.
I specifically called out a conversation.
Fun for some.
For some, yes.
So I tied this actually to the story. It wasn't a story. It was actually a technical blog post about how someone hacked into cable modem routers. And we've covered this since the beginning of time on this show. ISPs deploy these devices, and they need to manage them, right? And a lot of ISPs manage your cable modem, which is basically taking the Wi-Fi or Ethernet and turning it into the coax connection or whatever. And this one was kind of interesting. What is that noise? Do you hear that noise?
Yeah. Bzz, 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 bzz. Audio guys, fix that. Oh.
So, I mean, this was your standard, basically someone got the firmware from this device, posted it to the internet, someone reverse engineered it, and determined that basically there was like a backdoor within a backdoor, and was able to get all the configuration information from this device.
I wonder how they're doing their updates.
Yeah. Well, and the reason this happens in an ISP model is they're under the assumption that the ISP needs access to all of these devices. And I was actually listening to the Risky Business Show with Patrick Gray, and he was interviewing someone, I don't remember who it was, forgive me, Patrick, but they were talking about how they don't talk about IoT on that show because it's so like overblown and overhyped. And I'm like, no. I completely disagree. And Patrick, we can talk. Patrick and I talk all the time. We can talk. I disagree. Number one, for the security, the privacy and confidentiality reasons we mentioned with IoT, I think are significant. Not to mention, when we talk about securing IoT, one of the things that people talk about moving forward that we're going to do is standardize and say, these are something Ed Scotus mentioned a long time ago on the show. Let's come up with a standard way in which we authenticate and manage devices. And that's been extended now to, let's talk about how Internet of Things devices talk to, each other, talk to the cloud, and talk to your mobile device. And I'm like, all right, hold on, back up. There's a couple different things going on here. Like, there's a lot of different uses for IoT. I feel like that ISP managing cable modems, we can come up with a standard for that. But try and standardize on Internet of Things devices talking to each other in the cloud, you're in a world of hurt.
It's going to be difficult in general anyways, because right now, I think we'll see consolidation in this space, but you're going to have a bunch of manufacturers coming to the table with IoT devices. So getting
they're all
them
going
all
to have their own.
Yeah, they're all going to have their own thing, right?
Apple has their own thing, right? iOS.
Well, Apple's
10
on the way.
They do their own thing,
right?
And then everybody else does their own thing,
right? And so, getting to a standard with hundreds of vendors in the mix will be very, very difficult. We couldn't. We haven't been able to do this in many cases, right?
My point is, we may never see that. Right?
But even if you do, so let's assume we get to a standard, and everybody communicates the same way, and all that gets standardized, and then one of the points get exploited. Guess what? Now I have access to everything.
Or we just steal their credentials and we use the same stuff that we were just talking about.
Yeah.
To get into
now I have
all
everything.
your other.
Let me play devil's advocate, though. When my hope is that we see the same progression with Wi-Fi. When Wi-Fi first came out, the standards were horrible. We had standards, but they were horrible. They progressed to like WPA2, where it's pretty secure, right? And we kind of...
If you don't broadcast your SSID and do some other crazy stuff.
We kind of solved that problem, though. Like Wi-Fi,
we did.
I mean, it's, if you...
But again, the Wi-Fi points are aggregators.
Yes.
So standardizing an aggregator is different than standardizing the actual IoT endpoint.
Right.
If they're all communicating on an IP channel to a standardized aggregator point like a Wi-Fi or a cable modem or something like that, so much easier. I don't know that you have to necessarily go to the end IoT device, and I don't know if it's healthy or unhealthy for the industry, right? Each manufacturer is going to want to be able to do what it can. Mm-hmm. And if the standard becomes IP protocol to an aggregation point, why would we want to enforce standards any lower than that?
I think it's when you get up into the upper layer. So let's take my house or my theoretical house as an example, right? I've got a Nest thermostat. I theoretically have a Samsung fridge, which I really want, which is an IoT device. I've got my washer and dryer. I've got my doorbell. And
so all of these IoT devices, they're made by different vendors and
different vendors in different applications. You've got
SDKs, different,
But you've got to now take all these platforms and say they have to communicate in the same way in terms of the way I interface with the device, the way that device talks to the cloud, and the way that my app on my phone interfaces with that cloud interface.
So each of those SDKs may or may not have vulnerabilities, and most likely it would. But then also the connecting piece from one device, if we're going to use some sort of an intermediary language, we're going to speak this language to communicate between these two, that would also have vulnerabilities.
But I guess my question is, could we come up with a common platform where your refrigerator, your washer dryer, your thermostat, and your doorbell basically communicate with the user in one aspect, communicate administratively, maybe they have some kind of web interface administratively, they communicate to the cloud, and the way the cloud talks to your phone in a smartphone app, is there a standard way to make that happen that's a secure infrastructure that the refrigerator, washer, dryer, doorbell, and thermostat can all adopt on their platforms? I think that's complete pie in the sky bullshit.
But we have the same problem in security. Let's take the problem to something that we know even more and apply what we've attempted to do and what we failed to do, right? So I've got a bunch of APIs that I use to integrate and try to meld these things together. Mm-hmm. They may all have their own standards underneath that they need to run their particular environments, but they're communicating out in a REST API that I can now integrate into. As long as that API structure is standardized in a way that I can communicate with it, do I need everybody to be on the exact same standard? I don't know that you do. Mm-hmm. We don't even have that in our own security products, right? That's why you're seeing the adoption of orchestration tools and other things trying to integrate with APIs. If you make command and control available through a REST type of API, and you have aggregator points that allow to communicate through those APIs, and that becomes the standardized way of how you communicate to all these devices. Does every single IoT device need to be standardized? I don't know that it does. I don't know that we'll ever get there because we're not even there when we think about our enterprise products. And I think consumer products are going to be even that much harder to try to get all these manufacturers to agree to a standard.
Because the problem is the hardware is so limited. The standard that you would come up with, the lowest common denominator would be interesting, right? I only have so many CPU cycles, so much storage on all these devices to implement some kind of, and it's multiple things. I have to implement one, the way the user interfaces with the device, the way the user administers the device, as in like a web interface to change configuration, the way the device talks to the cloud, and then also there's the way the cloud talks to my app. Like you actually pointed this out to me a long time ago about how the IoT is put together. It's like it's web apps, it's firmware, it's talking to the cloud, and then there's a mobile component as well. So how do we standardize on all of those things and make it applicable to the most number of devices when all these devices are so different?
And that's why I think if you think about how an IoT is going to communicate, right? It's going to communicate to a local aggregator, a SOHO device of some sort, which is going to be a Wi-Fi access point. It's going to be a router. It's going to be a modem. It's going to be a whatever. That is then going to communicate data back to a cloud platform somewhere, right? That has to aggregate all that data up. And then you're going to build an application on top of that. Right. And it might be multiple microservices underneath that have the ability to communicate with these different devices. If you standardize around an API architecture or set of SDKs that allow you to do it, it doesn't force the IoT vendors, I don't think, to all adopt a single standard. They all have to be able to represent data and or command and control activities through a standard API. And if you do that, then you have, I think that's all you need in order to do this. But there is probably a central aggregation point in the house that has to be able to talk to all these devices instead of each one having its own service. Now, in theory, you could have each one of these services reporting back to their own cloud provider, and then you have a cloud to cloud that kind of sits over top of all that and creates this. But it doesn't.
The problem is the aggregators today are huge security problems. The Wi-Fi routers and access points in people's homes today there's botnets built on those systems.
Right. No, I agree.
I think somehow we have to figure out the difference, because I think we started this conversation on internet-connected vibrators. And a couple weeks ago, we were talking to Josh Corman and Katie Masouras about medical devices. What's the difference between a consumer device for, I don't know, recreational purposes versus a medical device that's keeping somebody alive?
Heart monitor, pacemaker, the list can go on and on and on. Right.
How do we draw the line between the two of those?
I don't know that you can.
Do they need the same level of security? Does the standard apply to both of those?
Potentially, ultimately.
Well, I mean,
unless
a
you
heart
figure out a
respirator is
way
going to
how
need
to-
more security testing than,
than a fridge.
Your
Your Samsung fridge, what's it going to do? Produce too much ice?
No, it has
It overloads the circuit
man.
and trips the circuit breaker?
It has a webcam inside the refrigerator, so when I'm at the supermarket, I go on my smartphone and I can see inside my refrigerator to make decisions on what I need to
buy?
stock up on.
Yeah.
I want that.
You want
Really,
it?
I do.
You
I
really want
that.
it?
I really want that really bad.
Isn't that what you have a wife for?
But
For the record, that was Matt, not me.
honey,
I don't.
My wife loves to walk around a supermarket for hours on end. This is the one thing that she and
my
I
wife is
disagree
the
with.
opposite. My wife hates
No.
the supermarket.
I hate shopping. I hate it. I know what I want to buy. I go in and I buy it and I walk out and she's like, wait, how'd that take so little time?
2 minutes, right?
Right,
You go
exactly.
in,
You
you're
go in,
out,
you
you're
get your
done.
stuff, you get out.
You're done.
My wife finds it relaxing, actually,
To
to
go
walk
shop,
through a supermarket for 2 hours looking at every shelf, trying to figure out how she can get the best deal on mac and cheese. And I might have like 400 boxes of mac and cheese at home, but it doesn't matter because my kids love mac and cheese. You're taking all the fun away from her. If you just can look in the fridge and go, she can't text me and go, hey, you're home today. Can you run upstairs and tell me how much milk we have? That's fun for her, right? You're going to take that fun away just because you want a standardized protocol? I don't know. Just saying.
But
I still want the fridge.
again, I think we all understand there's a difference between hacking a pacemaker, hacking an insulin injector port, and a dildo. We've got to figure out what the difference is.
No, hold on.
What's the difference?
I think we do.
The difference is the impact of the attack. And this is largely what I disagree with a lot of people talking about IoT. And also Dave Vitale to a certain extent that says, well, that's great. You can hack my toaster and you can burn my toast. And I don't think that's an accurate representation of where we're going 5-10 years from now. For me, there are impacts that are greater than just you can hack my toaster and burn my toast.
I agree with you. And Art Coviello used to talk about this when I was at RSA with him, right? Is that the ability to have a destructive attack is more possible today than it ever has been. Because now I have these IoT devices in my network. Yeah. Let's take the stove, because the stove is probably a better example than a toaster. What if I turned on the gas and cause a gas to come into the house, carbon monoxide poisoning, or then I ignited it and potentially exploded it? It is potentially possible now to have a destructive attack, all orchestrated from remote, right? So there is a risk there. Certain devices are probably less than others, right? If you're going to overload a fridge, it's going to trip a circuit breaker. Same with toast.
The whole thing with CSI Cyber and the printer, there are physical controls that prevent a printer from catching fire.
Is it cyber?
Yeah,
But let me clarify.
That is the name of the show,
said.
though. Yeah. It is called Cyber. But hold on. I think that the risk that we're all missing when it comes to IoT, and the reason that I think it's important for us to address these issues and not just say, yeah, it's theoretical, you still could catch fire or whatever, they can burn my toast, is the security and privacy implications of that. When the devices are tied together so that I know when someone comes and rings my doorbell, I do facial recognition and realize it's XYZ person and my fridge automatically locks. Or when my insurance company is then getting the data from my IoT devices so they know that what I'm eating, how much I'm eating, how many people are coming in and out of my house.
And your health rates go up.
Time out.
What happens when your toaster starts communicating with the Nest and
Paul, you keep going.
this or that?
Point of parliamentary procedure. You guys are calling risks what are really threats. We're talking about threats. When we start talking about risk, we have to add in the likelihood that it's going to happen, the likelihood that it's going to work. You guys are describing threats, things that could happen. What are the motivations? Why would somebody do it? What's the likelihood that somebody's going to do it to you? That factors into risk. So
I don't disagree with you, Jeff. I think the point is can these devices provide data about you personally? This goes back to PII. This goes back to associating a set of things to a person that then people can use against you later. Mm-hmm. That's the bigger issue, right? If I have my house fully automated, which I will never do because I'm a little kooky that way, because I don't want to know how much water or power or whatever I'm consuming. But when you start to use that data to make decisions about, oh, you don't need that much power, you don't need that much water, you don't need this, that's where the line gets crossed, right? And so the risk that we have, not the threat, the risk that we have is that people use the data against us later. Mm-hmm. That's where IoT potentially has the ability to cross the line.
Yeah.
Okay.
I agree.
That's still a threat until you quantify the likelihood. Then it's a risk.
True, but if you give the electric company all the data, and you give the water company all the data, and you give the insurance company all the data, they're going to find a way to use it against you. I think they would. It makes business sense in some respects for them to use some of that data to really adjust or make decisions on that data. IoT by itself, where nobody has the ability to make a decision about your livelihood, that's where that line gets crossed. And it's really that same cross we had with the email address tying to an IoT device. Yeah. It's that personalization of the data. And if that data now gets used by the aggregators or the cloud service providers as part of the service to make decisions about you that impacts price, health, insurance, et cetera, that's where those lines really, really get crossed.
Well, and I think that the monetary value to an attacker is interesting in that, sure, they can ransomware your computer, right? What happens when we put enough safeguards so that it makes that attack really expensive for the attacker? Then they turn to your thermostat, your car, your home, essentially, and they affect the temperature in your home. And they say, well, you have to basically pay a ransom, or we're going to just keep the heat cranked in the summer to 90 degrees. Or we're going to, because your car is connected to the internet and telling your insurance company how well you're driving, we're going to make you look like a really bad driver to drive up your insurance rate. So either you can pay your insurance company or you can pay us and we'll remove that ransom. Also, I think that privacy plays a play into it in that, let's say, for example, your diet is being monitored through your refrigerator, right? That's an example I always give. I can monitor what's going in and out of your refrigerator. If there's a lot of bacon going into your refrigerator, yet you're shown to have high cholesterol and your healthcare provider is monitoring your refrigerator, whether you know it or not, and your health insurance rates are going up based on how many times you open your refrigerator and grab for the bacon, that can be bad. And I don't think these are so much theoretical. Like, I think that's where it's all going.
That's where big data is going to take us if we allow it to happen.
Right.
Right? If we allow all of our stuff to get connected, Trust me, there will be companies that find ways to use that data to make decisions about price or whatever.
So I think a lot of people also want a lot of that integration to happen. A lot of people
because
say,
you can save
you know
money.
what? I don't really care about the risk. I don't really care about the threats.
Car insurance.
I really don't care about this stuff. Makes my life easier.
Into my car, and it's going to say
I don't really care about all this security stuff. I just want it to be easier, better, blah blah blah.
And save me money. I want to plug that thing into my car.
Don't care. I'm going to go do this thing
into the OBD2 port. It's going to make a connection back. It's going to tell my car insurance company, you're a safe driver. You save money for the consumer, like you're saying, Josh.
Right.
Fantastic freaking benefit. IoT is great. Big data is great. It saves me. But what happens when an attacker takes control of that device, tells the insurance company you're a bad driver, either your insurance is going to go up or you're going to pay a ransom to whoever's hacked into it.
There's two different questions there, Paul. One is, what if a hacker is feeding false information to the insurance provider? But what if you really are a bad driver and you don't want the insurance company to know it? I mean, that's a different element of privacy, but that's still, I think, a legitimate
that's how
discussion point.
No, agreed. Which is why, personally, I would not adopt some of these technologies. You say, I want the fridge to tell me what's in what's missing and what I need to buy.
I do, though.
I wouldn't.
Really do want that.
I don't.
I still.
I don't. I don't want the electric company to know what my thermostat's set to. I don't want them to know how much water I'm using to say, you know what, today we're not going to give you water because we don't want you to water your lawn. Dude, if I'm willing to pay $400 a month,
my sprinkler has an IoT SkyDrop. Is it?
Yeah. See, I'm not there.
You plug from my phone, dude. I was walking
watering
around
the lawn from the.
I
mobile device?
I walk around my yard with my phone and like turn on the different zones. My neighbor's like looking at me. I'm like, yeah, I'm controlling my sprinklers from my smartphone. I'm like, I'm cool.
Yeah, you're cool. Yeah.
He's like, no, listen, you're a nerd.
That's true. There is a convenience factor with IoT
that
a lot of people will gravitate to because they're like, wow, that makes my life so much easier.
I do.
But they don't
my door locks are connected to smart things.
Right.
Yeah.
So the FedEx guy comes to the door and he dings the doorbell and you're not home, but you're like, yeah, go ahead and drop the package at my house, right?
But also the plus
or the cleaning woman comes and she dings it and she walks in.
But the positive side is if UPS man leaves a package that I don't have to sign for and I get a motion alert and I see someone on my Ring is the company that does it. They're startup. They're pretty awesome. There have been cases where someone's stolen a package. I show the footage to the police department. I'm like, this dude stole my package, and they've arrested him within like 3 or 4 hours.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. So there's positive effects.
There are some positive effects
to security, right?
But everybody's going to have to make a conscious decision of how much convenience they want for lack of privacy. Because I'm telling you, the more convenience you want, the more lack of privacy you're ultimately going to have. But most people don't understand it. We understand it differently.
Shades in my house, they have this little IoT device now that can connect to the shades in your house, and you can connect it to smart things. What that means is my blinds go up and down automatically based on time of day, based on things that happen in other places in my house.
Nirvana for me is I'm completely off the grid.
You want to be on,
just so you all know, when I retire, you won't find me because I'm going to be off the grid completely. I'm going to be like on my own solar panel, connected to my own stuff.
Cell phone?
No, I will get rid of it when I'm out of the corporate world because I'm with you. I'm like I don't want people to track me, right?
I want to be sitting in my living room at like 6 a.m. when I'm taking care of my infant son, and the sun is glaring through the windows in the back of the house. And I want to have the shades automatically go down. And as the sun moves,
via script you wrote, and you just build your whole
like the script he wrote for goat seat. I need a goat seat again.
Automatically adjust my shades, goat see my friends, the whole thing.
Yeah,
right.
I get music to change when you walk into the room and the lights and the whole.
You know why you want that?
Because
you're lazy.
This is what
humans are lazy. But we are humans. We're lazy. We want convenience. We want to be like
the Nest thermostat was the ultimate lazy device.
The Nest is pretty awesome, though.
I sit here on my couch. My thermostat is like I could almost reach it with my arm, but I can't. So I'd have to get up and walk. But so I sit on my phone and I adjust the temperature in my house.
This is the old
It is
days.
ultimate laziness.
Remember,
I do the same thing.
Yeah,
I do the same
awesome.
thing.
It's awesome.
It's
you
great.
guys are crazy. This is like the old days when we were kids, and my dad, my dad always made the joke. I don't need a snow blower. I've got two, Matt and Andy.
Well, so that's
My brother and I, we would go out and shovel
Like,
the driveway.
IoT
I don't
back then was kids.
I don't need a remote control. Dude, go up and change the channel, right?
Hold on, wait. You're old enough to you remember getting up to change the
Oh,
channel?
yes. Come
Get
on.
out.
I
Get
am.
out.
I'm a 60s baby. So I
You're
know.
almost as old as Jeff.
You turn the top on.
He
turn the
is
bottom
almost
on.
I remember getting up and needing to go turn the channel. Click. We had 3 channels when I was a kid, okay? It was ABC, NBC, and CBS. And you might have had a PBS channel if you were in a PBS market. You went up and you literally turned the dial. Hell, I remember when you used to have to turn the rabbit ears to turn the antenna on the top of the house, okay? As growing up as kids, we had to go and do this stuff. Our kids are so lazy now. My daughter, that girl won't come out of her room because she just does everything from her phone. She just texts us all day,
Netflix,
right?
texting,
So I'm telling you, the millennials are going to adopt this stuff faster than ever, and they're going to give up privacy to do it. Us old timers, it's a conscious decision. Do we feel comfortable giving up our privacy? But I'm telling you, millennials are going to go there, and it's going to create a bunch of privacy issues later, and it will allow attackers
I feel like we're
to
all
go
gonna be-
after some of that data
But I feel
and
like-
use it against them in a bad way.
Millennials
So,
in general have no concept of privacy. They could care less about privacy. They just want to do all the cool
And I feel like
stuff.
we're
I
all
don't
we're
know if
all
I
going to
really
be
agree with that,
overweight
though.
because we don't need to leave our seat to do.
You don't need.
anything.
You're right. You
a
don't.
lot of the millennials, they really want privacy from their parents, right? You know, a lot of the,
You're right,
the kids
Josh.
coming
But they're not
up.
going to get it if they're going to use all
Well,
these
yeah.
IoT devices. Hell, I just got to tap into a span port and I can see everything that's going on.
I see it
They
today-
don't quite understand that yet.
I see it today with my son. Yeah. I'm like, give me your iPad, you're in trouble. He's like, no. I'm like, really? He's like, why can't I get
And
on
how
the
old is
Wi-Fi?
your son
I'm like,
using an
Wi-Fi
iPad?
goes down.
until
son's-
until my daughter learned how to hack the Wi-Fi. Yeah. So I mean, that's the next level.
that's
Your
what-
8-year-old is going to learn how to hack the Wi-Fi and give him privileges back. So
he
you're
will.
going to create the next hacker, which is probably not a
already-
bad idea.
No,
but
he's already there.
But
He's already there.
but these kids will do that. I don't know that it's healthy for society long term. By the way, I'm just saying personally, this is stuff I wouldn't do because I'm worried about the privacy implications of what this data in the linkage to me could potentially mean to me. If somebody wanted to target me and I had all this data available, they could. It's a heck of a lot easier today than it ever has been.
Oh yeah, I mean it's getting easier.
Yeah, every
Well,
day.
that's the paradox of security, Matt, is if somebody wants to target you, they'll get you. But you as an organization, as a company, will spend millions trying to prevent the casual hacker, the casual
Right.
breach,
You're absolutely right,
without
Jeff.
providing any, effectively any protection against somebody.
Mr.
that's really
Robot,
after you.
and if there was ever a time where I wanted to take my SmartThings hub and my Philips Hue bridge and all of my technology and just rip it out and throw it in the dumpster, is when I watched Mr. Robot, where they specifically targeted an individual who had a smart home
Yeah.
and forced them
Hey,
to.
Paul, we've spent the whole segment talking about one story. Is there anything else you want to bring up?
Thanks, Jeff.
Actually,
are.
2. That was two
Yeah,
stories.
we covered
that
the
was the,
dildos, right?
internet vibrators and the.
That's it.
And-
It was
That's all there
toy.
is.
Well, there was another story. Toy makers are in trouble for illicit data connections.
Yeah. Well.
They
think
said in
we
the
covered
article,
that.
sadly, there are currently no plans to combine for a combination of WeVibe and Nerf projectile for the Thai market. That's a quote from the article.
From the Thai market.
That's a quote from the article.
You got to love the Asians and their sex toys. That's what I gotta say.
Wow.
So I had a story.
I like-
apparently,
I had to really think
Samsung-
about that and let my imagination run wild as to how you would combine sex toys and Nerf and
How would
Internet
you
of
try?
Things. Like, that's a really
not?
difficult thing for me to...
Somebody's gonna figure it out.
That's a stretch. That's a
That's
stretch.
that's weird. That's so weird that I have to think about it. Which is
And can you
saying
make a
something.
T-shirt out of it?
Probably could.
We probably could. Yeah. We can come
Volkswagen-
up with any T-shirt.
Volkswagen.
Good marketing on that. Yep.
Volkswagen launches a new cybersecurity firm led by a bunch of German guys whose names I can't pronounce. The new company will develop advanced cybersecurity solutions for next generation connected cars and mobile devices. My comment was companies that are embarrassed by a breach tend to create cybersecurity companies. Well.
Yeah, hey, they don't need necessarily somebody to monitor the connectivity of the cars. They just have to understand whether they're bypassing like EPA regulations first, I guess would probably be a good start. But.
Connected cars are making the headlines today in the world news.
Well,
right?
because if you want an auto driving car, it's going to be highly connected, extremely connected, right? And so, yeah, I mean, there are going to be. Think about the ramifications of auto driving car, auto connected. You target somebody, you know they're in an automatic car. Yeah.
When he goes on the container ship and he goes off in the. Did you watch Silicon Valley?
No.
You haven't watched Silicon Valley?
No, I don't have cable. I told you I live in the boonies. I do not have cable.
Time out. However you watch TV. However you watch TV.
Netflix and Amazon Prime and an HD antenna. That's all I got.
Okay, so go on Amazon Prime or your Amazon app. Yeah. Go purchase Silicon Valley.
Everybody says I should do it, but
Matt, it is worth the price of admission.
Okay.
Whatever that you can afford the $30 per season to buy the seasons.
Yeah, I can.
I'm serious. Go watch it.
But I don't have HBO natively. I'd have to go. I'd have to do it that way.
Buy the show. Okay. If there's one show that you buy.
That's the one?
That's the one. Okay. Number 2 would be Mr. Robot, but number 1 for you is Silicon Valley. Because he gets into a connected. One of the things that reminds me that he gets in a connected car, and anyway, it's hilarious.
So speaking of cars, I put up a story. I heard it this morning. Apparently, a guy in Florida was plugged in his Samsung Galaxy Note to recharge it, and it lit on fire, exploded, and burned up his car.
So there's a
we talk about the 7 Note?
So hold on.
Sure. I got some other fun stories on that one.
I had a Note 3. It was an awesome phone. I love the Note series phones. When I saw the Note 7, and Jack, Daniel, and I agree, that's an awesome phone. That's a really awesome phone. Then when I saw them catching on fire, I was like, why are they catching on fire? And I put an article in the show notes about why they catch on fire. There's a lithium battery, and there's liquid in the lithium battery that's highly flammable. And if you, in a car battery, connect positive and negative, when you take your jumper cables and you push them together, they make a spark. That's exactly what's happening on the Note 7s. They make a spark, and they're lighting that liquid, essentially making it flammable, lighting that liquid on fire and completely burning them up and melting.
So
really glad I don't have one of those.
Yeah, especially. So flying into New York before I came down here to Providence this week. So now all the airlines are like, if you have
they're making the announcements.
Oh, announcements.
Are you serious?
Oh, dead serious.
Because there's some that
they're serious. FAA has made it mandatory. You are not allowed to turn on your Note 7 on an airplane.
And how do they enforce that?
It's an announcement. That's all they do. They announce it. They're like, if you have a Note 7 phone, you can't have it turned on the plane. You can't put it in your carry-on luggage, et cetera, because they're so worried about it.
They object to the use of a Samsung.
Yes. But the FAA is every airline. They made 2 announcements from the flight from Denver to Newark.
But, dude, I can't blame them. Because
every airline's doing it.
Hold on. I like that, because if I'm on an airplane and my fellow passengers have a Note set, dude, I don't want a fire inside of an airplane.
Right. You don't want to fire in the cargo hold either.
No, it's bad. It's bad.
You really do not want that.
No, that's bad. But there's some design flaw where positive and negative connectors get pushed in to the liquid that catches them on fire. I linked to the whole article. There's a whole video and everything about the whole science behind why they catch on fire. Which I think is a shame. I feel bad.
Dig into that one.
I feel, part of me feels bad for Samsung.
Agreed.
That's a hard thing to deal with as a company.
It's like the 787 batteries and the whole issue with Boeing and stuff, right?
Well, and Nokia's had to recall batteries too. But on the flip side of that, I've moved away from Samsung phones because they put so much crapware on them, in their tablets too, that I've just gone to Google Nexus. And I would be crying in a fetal position if that happened to a Google phone, because they're the most secure Android devices, Not that that's saying much, but they're the most secure Android devices, and they're great phones.
Didn't they just release the bounty for the Google Nexus?
$200,000
for a chained remote route.
Oh,
that's 6P.
It's not bad.
hey, that's a good payday.
Yeah.
That's what I use for my phone.
Is that what the interns are working on in the other room right now?
Trying to make us $200,000.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Hey, what's the bounty for putting the goat picture up on your monitor there?
It's like a doll. It's like you got to make me if you can put a goatsy picture, you got to make me a drink at the bar.
I'll make
you a drink at the bar.
There you go.
Yeah. How about that?
That's about a $10 value.
Interns, make it so. Goatsy now? Anyone?
Let's see. Goatsy it. I made a button on a webpage that goatsies our screen.
There it is. Make some drinks. Oh, sorry.
It's not a hack. It's a feature.
The purpose of ad blocking within a browser is to block ads from websites. AdBlock Plus has partnered with certain advertisers to basically whitelist some that basically say if it's ads from this site, you can display them.
If they've paid for it.
They'll
get through.
And that's their model. I can't tell you how messed up that is. And I really cleaned up that language.
Tell me how messed up that really is.
It's really messed up.
They're making
really
money
messed up.
off of.
We're on cable, Paul.
They're selling this service.
So, like, my thing is, if I'm running an...
It's a pay-to-play scheme. It's like the Clinton Foundation. Sorry.
If I can hear the production guys laughing in the next room. If I'm running an ad blocker, the whole purpose is that it blocks ads. And that completely defeats the purpose. And in our research on a previous segment of Security Weekly...
No, it blocks free ads and ads that people haven't paid for.
Right. But in my research, whether they're free or paid for, the list of sites that serve ads and the list of sites that serve malware have overlap. That was the research that I presented on this show. I swear to God.
Is it a high overlap? Can you give me the percentage?
It was like 15 or 20%. Like, seriously, I was DNS blocking, and like Bind hates it when you load the same zone twice. And so I'd load up the zones, and it would give me errors, and I'm like, oh, I have to like unique these lists because the list of domains that are on the ad blocking are the same ones that are on the malware blocking. And I'm like, this is bad.
Yeah.
This is bad. And so, yeah, that's just horrible.
So getting like an XSS on the domain that they would allow would be, that's where the attackers should be going. Right?
Correct. Yeah, it pretty much underscores like if there were if there were a bug bounty for ad servers, it would be the ones that are paying AdBlock to be on there.
So, like, I mean, if you're a real bad guy and you want to look at, okay, how do we make money or how do we serve ads?
Right.
Just go for one of these guys and we got whitelisted, great, and throw some XSS.
Pay to play, baby.
So the bad guys could just pay for malware-laden, phishing-laden, embedded stuff-laden ads. And it's totally legit.
So also recently there was research about recovering a password from an iPhone 5C passcode. Basically what Bruce and I boiled this down to was the FBI needs computer security expertise, not backdoors, was his conclusion on the story. Now I think it's kind of interesting that the FBI either doesn't have the talent or use this iPhone thing as a PR political kind of strong arming people. I don't know which, maybe both. I'm not sure.
Is this the same thing that they were going, like the FBI was talking with Apple about?
San Bernardino and stuff, yeah. But you know how
what a researcher said
it's only over because Siri got them certain data. But it wasn't a true backdoor. Okay. They used Siri to get Siri will give you certain data back with certain settings on.
Yeah.
And that's how they got the contact lists and other things for the San Bernardino people. But what they're saying is that's not it. Probably, my guess is that's not enough.
Right.
They need more access. So they need a backdoor, right? And that's what they're going to look
talent, which basically a researcher has said that if you take the chip off of the iPhone, you can like reverse engineer it and get access to it. So like we all speculated, like, hold on, like we're the FBI in the U.S., we should have the resources to do all of this research that we know is possible in security to break into a phone. And the FBI was saying, no, we don't have that, so we're just going to go to Apple and ask them to do it, which is
and Apple's not going to give them Apple's not going to make this easy for them.
I hope not. As a consumer, I hope not.
Not
that I use an iPhone
Again,
anymore,
this goes back to the privacy issue, right?
Yeah.
As soon as they do that, you're going to see a backlash from an Apple perspective, I think.
I mean, if the FBI doesn't have the skill, they'll just go to somebody else and they'll just buy an exploit.
Well, that was some of the rumors that they were doing that.
Yeah,
I mean,
and they might
that's
be
what
doing
they'll
that
do.
anyways.
They'll do that anyway.
And they went to the source to find a way to get the data that they wanted, and they used Siri to do it. And there's ways to turn that off on the iPhone. If that's turned off, then they're kind of locked out unless they find another way in. But I don't think this is a thing that Apple should hey, by the way, NSA, I trust you. Let me give you a backdoor and tell my phone.
Well, but the NSA is different than the FBI, right? Because
what about
their research? They're not sharing exploit codes.
Yeah, exactly. What about interagency cooperation? Like, why can't
NSA's probably got their own bag of stuff, which we just saw got dumped on the internet.
NSA's not going to share that with FBI?
No.
But aren't they supposed to under the new DHS mandates? Aren't they supposed to share this data?
They're supposed to.
So if one, in theory, if you give it to one, you give it to all, right? I don't know.
After terrorists flew planes into towers and the Pentagon.
That was supposed to be the mandate. That was part of the restructure of DHS and why it was going to happen. So where do you draw the lines?
Yeah, but it makes you speculate. So no one in the U.S. government that's doing security and intelligence has the ability to get access to this iPhone.
I don't think that's true.
I don't think that's true.
No?
It kind of degrades my confidence
in
anybody interagency
under
cooperation.
That group is,
That's really messed up.
So you guys are speculating a lot on government and making a lot of misstatements. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah. Go tell us, Jeff. I know you know more.
You work for
the
a
Department of
three-letter
Homeland
government
Security,
agency.
DHS did not
It
exist.
doesn't exist. No such agency.
It was the Patriot Act that started everything. The part of NSA that you guys are referring to has been dissolved. They've been absorbed into DHS and the Cyber Command. So if you want to pick at somebody or point fingers at somebody, point to U.S. Cyber Command.
And that's a different branch than the FBI still reports up to the Department of Justice, correct?
Yeah, the Department of Justice, Department of Homeland Security is a separate
branch. Yeah,
separate branch.
And there's still firewalls in between the two.
But there are trust relationships.
Is there a trust relationship?
There might,
Jeff?
There might just be.
Is the network flat?
It's sneaker net.
It's a sneaker net.
Okay.
That's a good way to describe it, I think, Jeff.
Sneaker net.
Yeah.
We like sneaker nets. They still work.
It's loafer net.
Critical. So
you're talking government. What did Obama sign this week? There's a couple.
I didn't dig too much in this story.
Are they executive orders that are authorized or unauthorized? Sorry.
Was it about Snowden? No.
The movie? Oh,
no.
Are we going to talk about Snowden?
No,
the
please,
movie?
let's not go there.
No.
Jeez.
That was a joke.
So he did sign executive orders. I didn't really dig into this too much. It's Exhibit A. The Social Security Administration system still runs on a platform written in the 1960s in COBOL.
Running on a mainframe.
So it's secure because no hacker knows how to touch COBOL.
COBOL anymore?
So good.
And they can't pay somebody else to do it either.
So all the Y2K developers are out of business now, and nobody knows COBOL anymore.
So he, to implement those upgrades, he commissioned enhancing national cybersecurity with mean of business technology and national security, and recommendations to improve that. The second will bring together chief privacy officers from 25 federal agencies to coordinate efforts to protect vast amounts of data the federal government collects and maintains about taxpayers and citizens. So,
and which agency is going to run that?
Blah,
OPM.
blah,
oh, sorry.
blah, blah,
Could
blah.
be blah blah.
That would have been good.
Blah blah. OPM.
was good.
Blah, blah,
OPM. Blah blah blah. OPM.
Blah, blah.
Blah blah.
It sounds like they were to improve the security of our federal agencies.
Having a private email server is sounding better all the time.
Say what you will about politics. It's not like he's not introducing executive orders to improve the security of our federal government. So, I mean, it's not a horrible thing.
It's not a horrible thing.
No,
it's not.
Yeah.
No, I agree. I mean, it's obvious that the government has been under attack, and there are ways to get data and sensitive data. So it's not a bad thing.
Marcus
in
Renham last week described it as the office of glass houses throwing rocks at other
glass houses.
Yeah.
With vagina soap.
And there was vagina soap.
Yeah.
Yes.
We're throwing vagina soap at glass houses.
That's how we solve world peace. Is we just arm everyone with vagina soap, and we'll just be so preoccupied with vagina soap. Everyone's like, everyone's okay.
Yeah, it's okay.
It's fine.
The
Everyone
world's
gets
fine.
along now because we all have vagina soap. Look at Jeff. Jeff's just drinking wine. Jeff's like,
hey, Jeff, you might need another bottle at the rate we're going. There you go.
There you go.
It's only wine, though. If it were scotch, it'd be much better.
So what did we get wrong in that segment?
Oh, wow.
Let the curmudgeon, the true curmudgeon, come out in you, Jeff.
Tell us how you really feel.
Tell
Come
us how
on,
you really
Jeff.
feel, Jeff.
Well, I'm just thinking about what is the scent of vagina soap, and do you really want to go there?
Is it like low tide or
Jasmine?
low tide and jasmine together?
We heard the moans from the interns in the back room. You couldn't hear that on speaker, but that was good. That was great.
So
They're just pondering that. They're trying to
They're like, oh.
they're trying to like mentally picture that so that it brings a scent to their nose and just laughing hysterically.
well, they're just trying to mentally picture.
And
a
they're all
vagina.
millennials back there anyways. They're
God.
like, yeah, I'm just texting this stuff all over.
Yeah. I'm on Snapchat.
Wow.
Oh, that was great.
Hey, I'm going to be in Vegas next week for the 10th PCI community meeting. It's been 10 years.
You guys having a party, like a 10-year anniversary party?
We're having a 10-year anniversary party. It's the industry annual event.
Can we get the? Yeah, well, you know what I would love is like full chip and pin in the death of PCI. But that's all.
Has anybody tried?
You said chip and pin without Jack being here.
There's no pin. Have you guys started
and
using
signature.
EMV pin readers?
I switched to Android Pay. Is
Yeah,
that any more
I've used a couple. They're
It's
chip.
horrendous.
I know they're chip and sig here
They're
in the
very,
U.S., but
very slow.
It's
Oh my God.
horrible. I mean, I've been overseas. I've been to Canada. It works. EMV outside of the U.S. works.
I know.
Hold on,
but
hold
no,
on, wait.
it's because
Why is
merchants
that
don't
so-
want to buy the equipment to do it in the U.S.
Hold on.
Because they got to support the old.
Wait. The last time I checked, Jeff, there's no ocean between us and Canada, so it's not technically overseas.
It was. I've been
Well,
overseas.
if you live in Cleveland, it's overseas. It's over Lake Erie.
Lake Erie. But that's a lake, not an ocean, so it's
Lake
technically not a
Michigan.
sea.
That
was
like
one
Goat
point, Paul.
Sea, there's a goat and there's an ocean in the background of the Goat Sea, right? If it was
It's
a
not
lake,
a goat lake.
it would be Goat Lake. There it is.
I have been
Maybe
to-
that's Goat Lake.
I-
It could be Goat Lake. It could be in Colorado. It would be Goat Reservoir.
It's a goat pond.
We don't have
okay?
any natural lakes. We make them up.
Go
They're all
Reservoir in Western
reservoirs.
Mass.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Somebody, please tell me, why is EMV so piss poor and slow in the U.S.?
Oh, you're being serious now? I'm sorry. Hold on. I need a minute.
Serious.
Because we don't want to adopt the technology that the Brits and the other people
Wait,
implemented.
the Brits are overseas. Those are truly
They're overseas. There's definitely a sea between us and them.
And I've been to the UK, and I've been to Canada, and I've used EMV in the UK and Canada, and it's fast, it's efficient, it's easy. You have a pin.
It's faster in Canada because you don't have to cross the sea to get there.
That's right.
You don't have to go through the transatlantic cable.
It's the Trans-Lake cable between us and Canada.
Yeah, explain to your young listeners what the transatlantic cable is.
Wait, this
Sorry,
is not
Jeff.
the internet. I'm sorry.
I love
If
you,
only
Jeff.
there was a search engine you could type that stuff into and you could just get an answer, right?
Yeah, right.
Jeff, I love you, but that was hilarious. I'm sorry. I love you like a brother, but
if only there was a way to put punctuation in a verbal. I've been overseas and to Canada.
There is
the Canada.
There's the name for this episode. I've been overseas. I've been to Canada.
I've been to Canada. Hey, I get on an airplane. I get off an airplane. They're speaking French.
Only if you go to Montreal.
Obviously, I've been over an ocean.
Only if you go to Quebec.
Obviously, I've been over an ocean.
Oh, boy.
I've been overseas, eh?
Hey.
Wow.
Unless you're in Minnesota, and then you can just drive across.
Well, I've been to Nova Scotia, and technically, I flew over an ocean to get there. Something called a Great Circle Route.
Right.
Look that up on Google.
Yeah, we know that one. Fly that one all the time.
Yeah.
That's
I'm
great.
done. I can't.
Is that it for the news, Paul?
We're done.
Paul's done.
I don't know how to top that.
All right, there's another T-shirt coming. Here we go.
It's
I've been overseas. I've been to Canada.
Which, if you live in Europe, that would make sense, right? Yes. Because if you live in Europe and you go to Canada, you've been overseas.
Of course.
Well, us see. Anyway.
Us see, yeah.
Us. I'm really trying to do one more story.
I don't think he's going to get it.
Oh.
What's
Sorry, listeners.
Jeff,
This is too many tenable people on the same show.
A bunch of tenable guys in Jabra just sitting around, hanging around.
Jabber's just like, I don't know what you guys are talking about. You guys are crazy over there.
Potentially top 10 funniest things that have ever been said on the podcast.
It is pretty entertaining, though. So
I've been overseas. I've been to Canada. The guys in the back are like, what the hell are they laughing at so hard?
They're like, what do you mean Canada's not overseas?
I just drive through Maine and get there.
Okay. All right. No, we're good. We're good.
All right. What's your one more story, Paul?
Microsoft, Adobe, and Oracle for Java have all had updates this week.
Really?
My thing
You're
is,
joking me.
Yeah. So my thing was, do we just give up on patching and implement endpoint protection?
No, you implement segmentation and strong authentication and strong domain passwords, and you're done.
But think about how many patches that is you have to deploy your organization. Do you just say screw it and just implement endpoint protection? That was my question to the group.
Well,
So-
Jabber, go, because you see probably some of this more than some of us do. But
yeah, so patch management, the Windows stuff, you just push it out. It's going to be good, but it's not going to be your biggest risk. The biggest risks, go back to the report, really those top 5 things. Your patch managements, the automated patches, your Microsoft patches, those get rolled, right? You guys handle that on the consistent basis. Microsoft has built their SDL based on getting beaten up for a long, long time. They're doing it better than anybody else. The other vendors, the third parties, that's where a lot of people in the enterprise, they struggle with that. And so integrating, the third-party patching solutions to handle those, especially when you're talking about quarterly, releases, that sort of thing. But again, we're not getting in through these missing security patches. So consider that when you think about where you're putting your focus. And maybe it's not, rolling these patches, which is the most important thing that you should be doing. It's maybe thinking about some of these other things that we've been talking about.
Yeah. And Paul, we talked about this a little bit earlier on the Enterprise Security Weekly show, is the way patches probably get applied in the future as we adopt more cloud is patch management probably gets easier.
Yeah.
And because what you're going to do is you're going to build a new image.
Yeah.
You're going to blow away all the old ones. You're going to spin up new ones. Right now, we're in a hybridized environment where we have a bunch of legacy systems. We have the new cloud stuff. But over time, I think patch management probably gets a little easier in the future. Now you can implement the patches in the dev cycles as part of the releases. You're going to blow away images. You're going to reinstantiate those instances in the cloud. It'll make things easier. I don't. It's still a challenge, but according to his research, it's still not the top 5.
It's not. No, you're right. Yeah.
It's not the top 5. So the
and
top.
I don't see it coming in. If I were to look in my crystal ball for, going in the future.
Except for remote exploits. I think the one thing that would, you made the assumption that I'm on the box, right? Remote exploit.
We'll get into social engineering always.
Right.
We don't need to.
Agree.
Yeah.
Right. But remote exploit patches are probably more important than some of the other ones when you put your research in context for a second, right?
I don't know if I agree with that, actually. I think that the local privesc vulns are very, very valuable.
Okay.
Because a local privesc vuln will give you, so let's say I fish somebody, now I'm a low-level user, and I want to go and escalate. That local privesc is probably much more valuable than something that gives me potential remote exploit on maybe one system or maybe more than that. But it's a hypothetical. A local privesc vuln, I can go from any domain user and I can go to system rights.
I agree with you.
And with that capability, it's.
But I'm
very,
trying to
very
put them
valuable.
into context, right? If I lock down the top 4 or 5, which are all authenticated issues,
right.
and I reduce those through doing the right things from
Right.
privileged access, now the remote vulns probably become a little more important because now they give me new access. In.
Thank you, sir.
Do you know,
Yes.
That's what,
so
that's what I'm trying to
You're talking
figure
about
out.
in perspective. Okay, if I have
in
systems
perspective.
that are vulnerable on my network that need to be patched, I can get code execution on them today. I need to prioritize all of those.
Right. Because
Absolutely.
if I put the right privilege,
Yeah.
if I put the right controls in place to deal with the privilege escalation, which is your top 5, then the remote vuln is more important potentially to patch than the local exploit if I'm minimizing where that local exploit can laterally move through privilege escalation.
So, all the vendors, they're going to give their own ratings, and Microsoft does a great job at really giving you their risk ratings for each of these different bulletins that they release, and all the other vendors, they do similar things. I agree with you in that the remote exploits are definitely higher in your chain, but if you're going to be rolling them all,
right? If you're going to roll them all,
then it almost doesn't really matter.
But maybe you can't roll them all.
So I mean,
right? If you had to prioritize the remote, if you do the right thing on privilege escalation and lateral movement, then the remote vuln patches would be potentially higher on the list to do than the locals because you've put other mitigating controls in place for the locals. That's why I'm asking, right?
Yeah. I mean, I could go both ways on this. If we know for a fact the exploitability, right? When we going back to what he was saying in terms of are these threats? Are they risks? Are we talking about actually leveraging weaknesses? Is there an exploit in the wild for a particular vulnerability, right? Because these are all potential threats or potential risks. If there's an exploit in the wild, then we know that it's weaponized. And then if I can maybe prove or disprove, maybe with a vulnerability scanner or some exploit software, or you take something off, open source.
Sorry.
Okay.
He's still thinking of Canada.
He's still going
okay, some open source software from Canada.
While you guys were talking, I stole one of Matt's stuffed owls from his martini when he wasn't looking.
Oh, nice. So now I got your dirty fingers in my dirty martini.
So
and
verifying exploitation.
One of our Twitter followers wrote in and said, well, what if Jeff was in Hawaii and went to Canada? It would be overseas.
It would be overseas. That's called the Pacific Ocean. Yes, that would
what
be
if he had a layover in Hawaii?
So for both those reasons, I'm still just... I think I peed myself a little afterward.
Is that a first?
No.
Oh, okay.
Funny. I'm gonna get home. My wife's just gonna be laughing. She's like, "What are you laughing about?" I'm like, "I'm gonna have to explain that all to her." Then it's not gonna be funny to her.
Right. She's gonna be like, "Why are you laughing?"
Like, you have to watch episode 481.
Here, have a couple martinis, and then tell me if it's funny.
Yes. Then it.
That's gonna be really funny. We made a good point over here.
Okay,
Yeah, I think we're in pretty good shape.
I think we're ready.
I think everybody lost the train of thought, but I think Jabra and I got to the crux of the issue.
The crux of it, the exploitation. You take the open source software, you validate it, and prioritize based on that.
Got it.
Matt Alderman, Josh Abram, thank you very much for coming in studio to Security Weekly. It was not the funniest moment, but it was up there. It was like top 5 for me.
Wish you could take credit for it, but
Tenable.
That guy right there.
And then you knock over my drink on top of it.
Oh my God. Jeff, thank you very much. Thanks everyone for watching and listening. This has been Security Weekly. See you next week. Over and